turn you to your host.
You're back with David Becky's Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio, the #1 listener-supported talk radio on the net. So push the donate button and subscribe to the archives for free. They're free. Get yourself some great merchandise from the station's website, a t-shirt, a mug, anything you like. Also, join us in the chat room. And don't forget, you've got access to the archives for free. We're halfway through show number 690, and we are talking today about human-animal hybrids. Human-animal hybrids. Did you even think that that was a thing? Did you? I know we've done a show before, but we have more text now. We got new information, and I'm gonna do the intro vid while we're doing it because I can hear it. You won't be able to hear this music in the background. And he's muted, just in case he does come back. I've got to tell him that that's the way it's going to be. Now, we've all heard stories about mythical creatures that are half human, half animal. Pan, the Minotaur, Medusa, centaurs, merfolk, angels, they're bird, human, and fairies, insects, kind of humans. And there's probably more well-known ones. We dismiss the very idea that these creatures could be anything but fantasy. The notion that once they roamed the earth would make people smirk at you and at best, or commit you to an institution with padded walls at worst. Those wraparound coats are really good. Hey, Mecky, it is simply too far removed from our accepted reality to even consider the possibility. Mecky.
However, today our own civilization is at the cusp of creating a raft of animal-human hybrids. Laws have been changed to allow for it, and the first experiments, at least officially, are already underway. There's a dark history here that we will explore. To clarify, and so we know that we're all talking about the species are defined as a group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes, so interbreeding. Right, so we're all on the same level as far as terminology is concerned. However, a hybrid animal a hybrid animal announces with parents from two different, but usually extremely closely related species are able to produce offspring. The hybrid offspring of two different species are typically infertile, so not able to reproduce, though there are a number of exceptions. Mule is one. If you got a horse and a donkey, you get a mule, can't reproduce. With scientific intervention and certain breeding techniques, including artificial insemination, it is possible to create a breeding line of hybridized animals that are actually fertile. We have already dabbled in hybridized animals. There are many animals in the world, hybrid animals, I should say, and these are just some examples. The mule is a cross of a female horse and male donkey. A hinny, a cross between a female donkey and a male horse. Mule and hinny are examples of reciprocal hybrids. A zedonk or zonkey or zebra donkey cross. A zorse, also a zebra horse cross. A zoni or a zetland, a zebra or pony cross. Zoni is a generic term. Zetland is a specific is a very specific hybrid of a Shetland pony breed with a zebra. A Tso or Yakov, a cross between a domestic cow, bull, and a yak. A beefalo, a cross of an American bison and a domestic cow. This is a fertile breed. This, along with mitochondrial DNA evidence, has led bison to occasionally be classified in the genus Bos. Dave?
The Zubron, a hybrid between Wisent, European bison, and domestic cow. Yakolo, a hybrid between a bison and a yak. a wolfen, a fertile but very rare cross between a false killer whale and the bottlenose dolphin. That's a lot of. You would have had to have had to drink a lot of alcohol. Ligers and tigons, crosses between a lion and tiger, and other panthera. That isn't bad. Panthera hybrids such as the Liger Gullup. Hybrid orangutan, a hybrid between a Bornean orangutan and a Sumatran orangutan. Some living Homo sapiens have genes from the extinct Homo neanderthalensis, indicating hybridization in the past.
In fact, I recently watched a documentary. I don't want to get the number wrong, but you see the 6 or 7 human species that we carried the DNA material for.
Florensis and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, Denisovan,
yes.
Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon. But there's a couple that only exist in our DNA. We haven't found no fossils
at all. Yes. And it's an ancient, undiscovered haplogroup.
That's right. And we just don't know. Interestingly, and for Denisovan, we've only got a few bone fragments and a couple of jaw bones. That's all we have for those guys.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there's just let's look at the human before I go on here. Let's look at the human species, and this is important. Look at the human race as it is today. Like we'll all look very different. We got really short people, like people, for instance, from South Africa, the Bantu region, right, or the Kalahari Bushmen. In the Philippines, people are of shorter stature as well. Generally, in Asia, people are a bit shorter, not always, but generally speaking. Whereas in the northern hemisphere, like in the Europeans, are usually a bit taller. That's just height, right, and body mass. But you look at islanders, Samoans and Tongans, they're massive people, right, big people, just genetically, right? And again, then look at the skin tones, right? You look at eye color, you look at hair color. You look at all these different types of human beings, all classified as Homo sapiens. All Homo sapiens. All of them. Homo sapiens sapiens, in fact, right? All of them. Aboriginal. If you look at it like an Aboriginal man, and then look at a South Indian or Tamil man, or woman for that matter, and you look at a Swedish, Northern European person, look at a Native American, you look at a Chinese person, a Japanese person, an Ainu person, and you put them all next to each other, they're all very different, right? I mean, just visually. All the same organs, right? All the same everything else. Genes are almost identical. Now imagine a population where you have all of that variety, plus another 7 species that within themselves would have had that kind of variety. You know what I mean? So Neanderthal may not have been just of one complexion. There might have been what we would term as Asian Neanderthals or African Neanderthals with darker skin colors, different colors eye, different color hair. Who knows, right? And the same goes, for all the other groups of Homo sapiens. I mean, they are us. If we could not interbreed with other species. And if you look at the horse and the donkey, you look at them and go, well, they're pretty close. They should be able to breed. Well, they can. But their offspring cannot.
That's right.
Right? So one generation, yes, you have genetic mix. After that, nothing. Because they can't reproduce. Whereas we obviously reproduce and keep reproducing, right? We are more like a zebra, I guess, in a horse or whatever, right? So our offspring is completely able to recreate itself. So we are fertile, right? Even amongst the 7 groups of human beings that coexisted at some point in time. I find this endlessly fascinating. Just imagine the kind of world that would have been. Just for a moment, just imagine the variety of culture, language, custom, food, the different worldviews. And again, please bear in mind that Dave and I believe in ancient high civilizations, right? Be it the ancient astronaut theory, or where, in my opinion, the ancient astronauts were us. Are there visitors from elsewhere? I have no doubt. And this elsewhere could be temporal, It could be dimensional. It could be spatial. I don't know. Probably all of them, to be honest with you. And I believe that the multiverse is a lot more populated than we think. And I know this is going to sound a little off, but I do believe that the cinematic or the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done a great job in socializing what in my mind is actually the nature of the universe. Not exactly like that, I don't think, but certainly being as peopled as they make it out to be. I think that is absolutely what is out there waiting for us, right? and obviously we're cut off from it. But I think, and I mean, that's in the one, and then you look at the multiverse series, like the What If, animated series that Marvel put out. I think they've done a really great job of visualizing what that could look like and what, in fact, it might look like, right? And I think that's why it resonates so well with us, Dave. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're good stories, and compelling characters, but the setting in which these characters interact and develop their stories is also compelling to us, because it at least to me, it rings true on many levels. Then you have to go things like the Mandela effect that play into it. There's so much evidence for the fact, and when I say evidence, I understand it's not empirical evidence, but it's nonetheless, even if it's anecdotal evidence, it's still evidence in my book, that you are left with no choice but to realize, yes, we are living in a very complex multiverse, and I think back then, I think we participated more actively in the cosmos. And if you look at the stories, the Indian Vedas, but not only, you will see that we were very active in the universe, in the galaxy. We were flying around and doing things and all kinds of stuff, right? Anywho, but in effect, this will hark back. Today's show's topic will hark back to those times, right? Now, when we started researching this show topic, a number of ads started popping up in the browser, right? And this is one of the links we followed. DNA-based testing based on htDNA chip. Now, this is a sponsored link, right? So I started typing in, DNA modification, the human hybrid, this popped up. DNA-based testing based on htDNA chip, copyright. The overview of genetic testing. The results of genetic testing can be used to analyze the types of genes contained in an individual, determine whether the gene is defective, and whether the gene expression function is normal. Through genetic testing, people can know their own genetic information, determine the cause of the disease, or predict the risk of a certain disease. Genetic testing can diagnose diseases and can also be used to predict disease risks. There are 3 general methods of genetic testing. Dave?
That's probably true. There is... I'm not going to read the points, am I? I do. So biochemical testing is to detect the protein content in blood, urine, and amniotic fluid samples through chemical means. It is used to diagnose genetic defects caused by a certain protein imbalance that maintains the normal function of the body. There is chromosome analysis. Chromosome analysis directly detects abnormalities in the number and structure of chromosomes rather than detecting mutations or abnormalities in a certain gene or a certain chromosome. It usually used to diagnose abnormalities in the fetus. And the last one of the 3, DNA analysis. So DNA analysis is mainly used to identify genetic diseases caused by a single gene abnormality, and mainly to analyze cells from the blood or hair. Mekki.
Now, bear in mind, this is an advertising or an ad for a service that's being offered. This is not describing, like in general terms, like scientifically what it is. This is a company trying to sell you a service. Mm-hmm. Now, what are the implications of genetic testing? As we can see in the figure below, which you can't see, and I'm not going to bother reproducing it for anyone either because it's an ad, the application directions of genetic testing are mainly for medical treatment, including newborn genetic screening, non-invasive inspection, early tumor screening, cardiovascular disease estimation, nucleic acid amplification testing, and doctor medication guidance. Genetic testing methods have huge advantages over traditional diagnostic methods for the diagnosis of the cause of certain diseases. Dave?
What can HT-DNA chip platform do in genetic testing? Most of the process of genetic testing is actually the process of gene sequencing. The sequencing result is mainly obtained through one gene sequence, and the diagnosis result is finally obtained based on the comparison with the normal genome to find the problematic gene. Of course, when only qualitative test results are required, there is no need for time-consuming gene sequencing processes such as nucleic acid amplification testing. For most genetic testing processes, HT-DNA chip technology platform can provide high throughput next-generation sequencing, which greatly shortens the sequencing time of genes. HT-DNA chip registered trademark, can realize the output of sequencing results within a few minutes, which greatly promotes the application of genetic testing in medical treatment. Compared with low throughput and inaccurate sequencing, HT-DNA chip registered trademark has obvious advantages. Meki, this does sound like the Simpsons scene where the guys brought the briefcase full of money to the senator to try and get approval for logging, and he goes, "Oh, the wood's just festering and lying around.
That's exactly
We need to
right.
clean it all up."
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if this service is being offered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, then that's pretty amazing, really, as a thing. So, and again, this was probably 4 or 5 years ago that this ad came up.
And about 4 or 5 years ago, there's a guy that's now retired, lives in my street. They had what looked like a device a little larger than a cigarette packet, and that's what this device was. And he used to use it.
Yeah, it's completed. I mean, we'll go into the tech in a second and explain what CRISPR and all that is. But you'll say, yeah. So what? Testing services, ho hum, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really earth shattering, is it? Well, it is, but that's what I thought.
Where's the boom?
And then I went
shattering kaboom.
Over here, to your left, sir. And then I went to this link, right? And this link is the CRISPR genome editing solutions. CRISPR genome.
That's the solution.
Editing solutions. Now, bear in mind here, please. This is a product. This is someone trying to sell you stuff. Okay, mm-hmm. CRISPR genome. Oh wow, it no longer exists. I just tried to get to it.
That sounds about right.
No. Wow. Oh no, hang on. There is no. It's just that link doesn't exist. The vector builder is still here. Revolutionized gene delivery from research to therapy. Design my vector. Request design support. Explore popular vectors. So sorry, it still exists, but that particular ad doesn't exist. That's fine. So Vector Builder offers a comprehensive collection of CRISPR, CRISPR, products and services to provide you with the ideal tools for in vitro and in vivo genome editing experiments. Our CRISPR offerings range from off-the-shelf reagents that are ready for transfection, that's the word, transfection, or transduction, to custom-made CRISPR vectors with high targeting efficiency and available in multiple convenient delivery formats. I added convenient because it just fit there. For example, plasmid, virus, or RNA. Mm-hmm. We can package all major virus types, lentivirus, AAV, adenovirus. We pick your virus. We can pack to deliver your CRISPR components efficiently into difficult to transfect cells. This sounds like the ad for a terrorist organization trying to sell the latest plague. Additionally, we are specialized in building high-quality CRISPR libraries for knockout, gene activation, gene inhibition, and other CRISPR screens. Our uniquely designed and well-validated whole genome dual gRNA knockout libraries are powerful tools for gene functional screens in human and mouse. Click to view user testimonials about our CRISPR genome editing services. What are the highlights, Dave?
Before I'll read them and then I'll tell you something. So highlights: highly intuitive online vector design platform with whole genome gRNA database implemented for easy and quick CRISPR design. Rich collection of vector backbones and vector components. CRISPR components available in a variety of delivery formats, i.e. CRISPR/Cas9 plasmid, CRISPR/Cas9 virus, Cas9 mRNA plus gRNA, Cas9 gRNA RNP complex. Versatile. Mackie, I love these advertising. This is glossy brochure terminology. Versatile CRISPR library construction options. Robust quality, fast turnaround, and competitive pricing. Powerful technical support for experimental design, data analysis, and troubleshooting. But if you call now, as long as there is a knife set in a presentation box, I'm for it. I wanted to say this because how many years ago was this, Mackie, that we did this one? 6, 8, 9?
About 5.
5 years.
Yeah.
So my daughter went through. She had a dominant gene with a, and it caused her to have pulmonary arterial hypertension, and that required she nearly died. That required a double lung transplant. Someone else's lungs who don't have that same gene mutation. And I said to the doctors while she was being treated before the surgery, I said, can't we just do some CRISPR on her? And they went, what? I go, CRISPR, being able to change your DNA while you're alive. Surely we can just delete the bad gene. Can't we do that? And they didn't know what I was talking about. So I sent them links and had discussions with them about it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, serious. And they didn't know. So now that she has someone else's lungs, it's possible that they could eliminate the necessity for anti-rejection drugs by simply making those lungs her DNA but with the fix in it. You could do that. You could totally do it. Is there any money in curing one person? No. But the work towards making that something for an ever fix is there. It's quite possible. You could do it. When I talked to the doctors after them having seen this technology, they went, I didn't even know that existed. I go, well, Pfizer and Beam got together and they started their project after the vaccination procedures had gone through after COVID, right? And look, it's completely possible. If you're able to give someone an injection today using CRISPR, you could change the color of their eyes, or you could change some other trait about that person. I don't know whether the technology would be a one-time or a multiple shot experience in order to perpetuate the regrowth of the cells and ensure the new cells have that. I don't know. I'm not a medically trained, or certainly not scientifically trained enough to be able to understand what this is in how it works. But I know that the experiments they were doing was to try to eliminate liver disease. That was their first goal. The hereditary issues. So if you could start to cleanse the human race, I suppose, and not ethnic cleansing, Mackie, but DNA cleansing, to get rid of the really bad, dragged along kind of problems that the fringe of our society gets the majority of. Well, that would be great. I like the fact that CRISPR is a thing today. But is it being used for good?
I want to say no, or limitedly
Too
so,
soon.
because
Yeah.
well, think about it. What's the upside? Again, this goes back to the first hour where we discussed the great motive for society's existence. We no longer do things because they're good to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing things because they make money.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to fix everybody, for argument's sake,
Yeah.
and let's be very clear here. I firmly believe there are cures for all kinds of cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I believe there might even be one panacea potentially. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure there are cures out there in the world.
They found recently, Mekki, I think it was it MS is an intruder in the body.
But it's the same with cancer. Cancer is now some cancers, or maybe most cancers, are recognized to be caused by bacterial virals. Right, absolutely, virus. Yeah. So to be clear, it doesn't matter if you're billionaire or powerful or whatever, unless you're read in. And by read in, I mean if you're part of the parasitic, I guess you can say parasitic ruling council, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I firmly believe that these creatures exist. And I have to call them creatures because they no longer resemble humans in any meaningful way. They have been around too long, and they look at us as we would look on an anthill. If you see an anthill, you might have no particular feelings about it. If it's not in your way, if you don't feel particularly nasty that day, you just walk around it. Or you might not even have to walk around, you just walk past it. You don't think about it a second time. I mean, because it doesn't concern you, right? And that's the way they feel about us in many ways. Okay, the parasites. They still, we're still useful in certain areas, and some might like to study us, and who knows what. But ultimately, we're inconsequential as far as they're concerned, which is why they do what they do, and we are just not worth having. We're not worth it, and we're not worthy of all of these miracles, if you will, right? I know it sounds crazy, and I have no factual evidence other than some of the things I've seen and heard to back me up. But I do believe we are 400 years behind where we should be, technologically speaking, and we're probably 50, 60,000 years behind where they are, the parasites. Okay, technologically speaking, again, all the things we think of as science fiction, all the fantastic novels we read, all of that stuff. I think it's actually it's not fiction at all, right? I think in many ways it is part of reality. In fact, if we're living in a multiverse, and I said this before, if we were living in a multiverse, Dave, then there couldn't be fiction. Fiction is impossible. Why? Because everything is true somewhere.
That's
right.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
If we live in a multiverse, if that were the case, right? But then everything is true somewhere, because every expression of reality must exist somewhere. So
to join this together with all of the other context that we have, Mekki, I don't want this to be left out. And it is, if there was an Agenda 21 that's real, and depopulation is the norm from the ruling class, then why would they want to fix the bottom feeders? There would be no interest at all in doing that, because you would say that would be a counteractive. It would make no sense to have more of us if there is a plan for population or depopulation. So look, if it's only for themselves, then I would imagine the price that it would cost per fix of whatever DNA problem there is, or desire. Could you imagine if it was like a questionnaire on a tablet? You go into a doctor's office and there's all these tick boxes. Would you like, and you just keep making these choices in screens, and you hit purchase, and it's like, oh, that's $1 million. They just push the button. Done. Yeah. It's billed directly to them. Who knows? But the people who would then be the people that were in a ruling class, I suppose, they would have access to it. We would never.
And but they've made a very good point as well here, right? So it could be as simple as walking in somewhere. In fact, it'd be free because they live in a post-scarcity society.
Mm-hmm.
The parasites, meaning nothing costs anything.
Yeah.
You just everything is just there. Post-scarcity means that energy is free. Any products are free. There's no such thing as income anymore. The only thing that really matters is I guess life and time, right? And knowledge and such, right? And power, mostly power. And there's just in any power structure that we've ever seen on this planet, as far as we can remember at least, there has never been power shared equally by all. Never.
Mm-hmm.
And this, what we're talking about here, the human-animal hybridization, the CRISPR technology, it all feeds into it. Okay. And I know we'll talk about it in a second, but I want you to all bear in mind that we do have legends and myths about these hybridized animals from olden times. You know, the manticore, the basilisk, the griffin, Pegasus, unicorn, etc., right? While I believe that some of these creatures may have just been natural creatures that are just now extinct, and you will say, "Oh, how's that making? That's crazy. That's nonsense talk." Where's the fossil record? Well, fossils form under very specific and rare circumstances. 99% of all fossils we have are marine fossils because the seabed is just better at it. But even those fossils are rare in comparison to all the creatures that ever lived. And we found fossils of creatures that we have absolutely no explanation for. They're completely new forms of life, but no longer around with us. But the point here is that we are living in a knowledge vacuum. The lack of knowledge that we have would fill libraries, right? We had knowledge before, I think, and now we don't. Now we're trying to claw it back, but we are being directed along certain routes. Oh, you can't look at that. Oh, you can't look at that. Oh, don't look here. Yeah, that's safe. Stay there. And to the point, I know it's going a bit far off topic, but this one point I want to make, it's gotten to the point where schools don't reprint science books or math books for that matter that are 30, 40 years out of date because it costs too much.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. What you're teaching your children is no longer accurate. You know it's no longer accurate. And yet, oh no, it's just too expensive to change the books. That's insanity.
Oh,
complete and utter.
So
insanity.
my input towards that is that I was remarking one time at how out of date how high school engineering textbook was, and I noticed that the reprint date was 1954. That was the reprint.
That's not when they went to school. I just want to say.
No, not at all. So 30 years after that, and because I was in California there and in the 80s, and back home again, and the bicycle that I had in engineering, I had a bicycle I used to ride to school, and it was made of materials that weren't even mentioned. Those materials didn't even get a mention, not even a single dot point in the technical manual that we had for engineering. And the bicycles they were talking about were made of steel. Steel, Mickey. You know how heavy steel is? Yeah. And I was into BMXing and racing and stuff, so I had the lightest bike that was known to man at the time. We didn't have carbon fiber, right? But so I imagine the students at the same school having carbon fiber bicycles, having that same conversation with the same teacher. Because, I think they thaw them out. They freeze them during the holidays and thaw them out again. They're the same teachers even.
But look, as funny as it sounds, unfortunately, it is completely factual. And so we're here. We're standing at the precipice of an abyss where we are about to tumble into it. All the things that are going wrong with society and all the things that are coming to a head. Disease vectors, weather, events, political events, maybe even cosmological events. You look at the sunspots increasing in activity there, earthquakes, etc. And then our human foibles, as it were, right? Our conflicts, our deliberate, I think it's deliberate, our deliberate inability or our deliberate unwillingness to do better, because we're caught up in this thing where we need to be making money and be successful, whatever that means. And it's horrendous. It's a horrendous, dreadful thing, right? That we are subjecting ourselves to. We've forgotten, and now we've got all these powerful technologies, Dave. On top of that, powerful technologies that let us. These technologies. Now think about this for a second. We are playing God now. We can destroy the entire planet. We can. We can destroy entire species. We can wipe them out. We can target human populations based on genetic code. We can do that. There are weapons like that. We could feed everybody. We could do that as well. That's a good thing. We could clothe, house everybody, but we don't. We can create creatures. We can create creatures. We can bring back creatures from extinction.
Yeah.
Extinction. They're gone. Bye-bye. And we can bring them back. This is no longer Jurassic Park fantasy. We can actually. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to bring back dinosaurs. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we're looking at the Tasmanian tiger, okay, as one, for example, that we might bring back. The dodo. Why? I don't know, but we're looking at that. We're looking at the mammoth as well, because we have fairly intact DNA for those candidates.
The dodo. Absolutely. The dodo head is stored in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. It makes no sense to bring them back, but there you are.
They're just going to jump off the table.
I know.
Or jump out the window.
But think about this. Oh, completely. But think about this for a second. So let's say that's what they want to do. Mammoth, mastodon, saber-toothed tiger, whatever. And I go, okay, fine. As a curiosity, as a scientific thing, you know what? As a science project, I'm going to knock yourself out. But, and this is where we're going with this show here today. Human-animal hybrids. Now, think about the next evolution of thought here. What if they decide to bring back Neanderthal?
Yeah.
Or Denisovan? Or Homo forensis? What kind of... Because they're human beings, because they are us. We can interbreed. We're closely enough related to be able to interbreed and have fertile offspring. Okay? Let's say we do bring them back, though. Then what? Do they have citizen rights? Are they science experiments? What's going to happen here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because and then the next evolution of thought is, of course, we create our own very specific human beings, which are this and that and tall and short and strong and weak and whatever, and we can gene alter or gene tailor our children, our offspring. It's like these greenish, like really bright green eyes and like a dark complexion, maybe blonde hair, and all should be tall. Everybody's going to be 7 foot tall, Dave. Everybody's going to be an Olympic swimmer.
An Olympic swimmer. Just have flippers instead. How about being able to breathe underwater? Because breathing is, going to slow you down. So you could do that. You could think about a skin type or an adaptive thing that would help you out, because we do this to plants. We're putting fish antifreeze in wheat so that it can deal with the frosts.
Yes, that's insane.
Right? So we've done that. That's already happened. Yeah, that's already happened.
And make no mistake. Yeah, we are doing it. And we'll talk about this and some of the examples. But there's a guy who put I guess he altered his DNA of some of his cells, I think in his arm, I want to say his arm, to emit bioluminescence. So this was taken from a jellyfish. I could be wrong. He took the DNA from a jellyfish and injected him, I think it was with CRISPR, into himself, and now some of his cells in his arm produce bioluminescence. So that's editing of a living creature. We can actually edit us
That's
to
right.
Dave's point
Alive.
and the medical questions he's asked. That's possible. It's not fantasy. It's not science fiction.
Nope.
This is no longer, and of course, doctors don't know about it because it's cutting edge. So if you studied even 10 years ago, you wouldn't know about this. If you
That's
left
right.
university 5 years ago, there was probably no course on it. So people that are graduating, probably over the last 5 or so years, more so, because you need, to accumulate enough material, if you will, to start a course at university. The people would have come out learning about this stuff, but most of the people that are experts today would have learned this on the job. You learn it on the job, and make no mistake, most of the jobs in the world, most of the professions, careers, you don't actually learn about it in school. You don't learn about at university. That's where you get your rudimentary knowledge, no matter what it is. Even medicine.
Yeah.
You get you study medicine and you spend probably 10 years studying medicine. Okay, you come out of university with your medical degree, you're completely useless. Okay. It takes time and experience to become a good doctor, right? And then after you accumulate that experience, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years in that field, and I think you'd be good if that's what you're meant to do. But anyone coming out of university expecting to be a gun anything is a complete moron. It means nothing. You got an education, good for you, but now you have to actually learn about life and other things that university can't teach you. And this gene editing is the same. So just imagine a whole bunch of millennials or Gen Zs or whatever coming out of uni. Let's start editing stuff. I want a tiger with a trunk. Human beings with tentacles instead of fingers. Yay! Imagine how you could pick your nose now.
I wanted a long-haired butterfly as a pet.
But why not? Why not? Go ahead.
Imagine it looked like the 70s came to life, Mickey.
I know, right? But this is real stuff, everybody. And again, I think this is a rediscovery of some of the ancient tech because anyone?
Pepsi?
Close enough.
Voodoo economics. I know this one.
What's the fastest land animal?
Cheetah.
What's special about a cheetah?
It contains both cat and dog DNA, roughly
that is
spliced
actually
together.
True.
Yeah, and
that is true.
It's the fastest. It's the fastest one of the big cats, but it doesn't have retractable claws. It has permanently, I don't know, whatever you call it, permanent claws, like a dog's foot.
Like a dog.
Like a dog, that's right. It's susceptible to dog-only viruses and cat-only viruses.
The worst of both worlds.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you want that? It has a gyroscope in its head so that its head always is stationary while its body is doing all of its motions. So it can keep focused on the target. It has also the gyroscopic tail that turns to keep its body stable. Extraordinary stuff. And it's also the only big cat that hasn't killed humans.
Ever. We don't know of any case that where a human was a victim. And in fact, the ancient Egyptians, as we've seen some of the art on various temples, etc., used them for hunting as you would a dog.
Now the last point is that it has dog and cat fur. The short fur, I think, is the cat fur, and the long fur is the dog fur, or other way around. I can't remember now.
And most tellingly, each cheetah is genetically identical to the next cheetah.
That's right.
They're essentially clones of each other.
Fail rate at birth.
Yeah.
But it fails those automatically by to keep their code pure.
Correct. Now, scientists dismiss that and say, there was a genetic bottleneck. Oh, okay. Like with the very few breeding pairs. Now, that is true for the human population, and most of our DNA is very close. I mean, it's only a few decimal points between each human being. But their code, as far as I know, is identical code. There's no genetic bottleneck I can think of.
if you took the skin off one of them and you could put it on the skin of replacing the skin of another cheetah, and it would not reject it.
Correct. Now that's extremely unusual. So this is an engineered animal in my mind. Again, I know that scientists will go, oh, it's just nonsense, Mackie, where's your evidence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sometimes when it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it swims like a duck, it's probably Joe Biden. No, it's probably a duck, because sometimes, and this is another thing. Now I'm all for the scientific method. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with it. This is how I was educated, both in school and at uni, and it has a place. For our physical sciences, there's no better methodology than our scientific method, right? When you go out, you've got a hypothesis, then you test it, you do experiments, you formulate a theory, and you then put it out into the world for other people to test, and whatever, it might be an experiment involved, whatever, but other people can test it, and it's repeatable. That's important. Makes perfect sense in the physical world, 100%, for many, many things. Other things we dismiss out of hand. We don't even consider them. I want scientists to examine cheetahs and their genetic code.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to come to me and say, "No, you're wrong, Mackie, they're actually quite different in their DNA. Blah, blah, blah. That's why." Or alternatively, I want them to come and say, "Oh, yeah, they are actually identical, and this is why." Explain to me why, because I can't think of a reason. I've never seen a reason for this. Not only that, when it comes to the scientific method, it doesn't deal very well with things that we can't measure, cut, or repeat, like psychic phenomena, the phenomena that we witness at the Skinwalker Ranch, or any other what people like to call the abnormal, supernatural, or paranormal, which are terms that I don't like, because it's all part of the natural world that we inhabit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not some other part of the world that is there. It's all part of the one world. See, this is the but this is, I know, and I know why you're laughing, because there's us, and we see ourselves as outside of nature. We're here. Then there's nature, and that's all the normal stuff that we're allowed to believe, and everything else outside is not natural. It's what did Homer say? It's not natural. But it is. Guess what? It is. It's all part of the natural world, even if we don't understand it, even if it's strange and unbelievable, like ghosts. We see the images. I mean, we now have video footage of so much stuff. It's mind-boggling, and only one video has to be true and not doctored for the entire phenomenon to be true, whatever phenomenon you're thinking about, right? We have video of crop circles being formed by light bulbs, little light bulbs, right?
Yeah.
How? I don't know, but everybody believes, oh no, it's two English guys that are in the 60s, and they're pole vaulted into the fields, but they did all the crop circles in the world, all of them, not just in England, everywhere. No,
they got around.
No, they got around. There's so much, and this is all part of the natural world, but we like to call it supernatural or paranormal because it offends our sense of understanding. Okay, it offends the church, it offends the science people, it offends the politicians, it offends everybody in a position of power, because there's something there they can't control, explain, or make use of, and all of a sudden, that's a danger. If you're in power and you encounter something you don't understand, you can't explain, you can't defend against, the best option is to ignore it, Dave. The best option is to ignore it.
You know what? You can name it and put it in a little box on a shelf, and you're good. Or you can put it into a crate in the Smithsonian and just make it disappear.
100%.
That scene is so
100%.
apt. The scene is so apt. I know, totally right.
That's crazy. I think we can do what is CRISPR. I think we'll make it. We'll make it.
Where's that?
It's right after what we just did. So I think we can do it.
You mean the let's get to it part?
Or
further?
Where am I? No, we've done that.
Yeah, we did that bit.
We did. Now we're doing what is CRISPR. For me, it's page 6. I'll do the first paragraph in a second, and we'll do it fast.
I'll catch up. Yes.
The takeaway: CRISPR, clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats. In case you're wondering what it meant, technology was first discovered in bacteria in the 1980s, but its potential for gene editing was not fully understood until much later. Today, this household word is fueling amazing advancements in genetic science, but there have been plenty of hiccups along the way. Since its discovery in 2005, CRISPR gene editing has gifted us everything from new cancer therapies to the ability to create animals resistant to certain diseases. Despite these headline-grabbing advancements, however, everything is not always sunny in the world of genome editing. Read this blog to see what some of the benefits of CRISPR are and understand what some of the drawbacks have been and how some researchers are working to overcome them.
I don't have any of this.
Yes, you do.
No,
A short history of CRISPR?
No,
Okay.
not even.
I'll finish it and I'll send you
Please
this text.
do.
I don't know why they would. I love Teams. Must have sent it. Anyway, in 2005, scientists Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier made a breakthrough discovery that laid the groundwork for the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing system. They identified the key components of the CRISPR system, specifically an RNA molecule that could guide the Cas9 protein to a specific target DNA sequence for precise gene editing. The revolutionary nature of their findings was recognized, and in 2012, Doudna and Charpentier published a landmark paper in the journal Science, outlining the CRISPR-Cas9 system's potential for RNA-programmed genome editing. This publication marked the beginning of the rapid development and widespread adoption of CRISPR technology for a variety of applications. Since then, CRISPR has become a powerful tool in genetic engineering, allowing researchers to modify genes with unprecedented precision and efficiency. The discovery of CRISPR has had a profound impact on various scientific fields, from medicine and agriculture to basic research and biotechnology. Again, CRISPR stands for Clustered, Regularly Interspaced, Short, Palindromic Repeats. Well, aren't you happy that you know this? Isn't that wonderful?
I am now.
And I'll send you the text because that should be there for you. In any event, that's all I think we'll manage today, because the next one is going to be too long. That's actually Q&A with the bioengineer Stanley Kui on the past, present, and future, which was published actually exactly 1 year ago, pretty much.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's pretty recent, which is good. Yeah, so, but this technology, Dave, I mean, the mind boggles. I mean, your daughter's condition should be not treatable, but curable. Yes?
Totally, 100% curable. It should be. That's right.
That's insane.
Or even just the rejection of through a lot of injections. I suppose you could turn any DNA that it found into your DNA. You could remove the anti-rejection, making it your DNA. Your body wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. You could do that. You could totally do it. I'm not saying you could grow the...
Amazing?
You don't need to grow it or do anything. You could just change it in you. And that's the really big message here with CRISPR. I'm not putting out the question yet, because we'll leave that for the ethical purposes or unethical purposes in which it could be used for a later show in this series. But I think it certainly could be, and that's what I applaud, is that, you know, I'm not saying turn my head into a bird's head. I'm not saying, you know, make me run faster by giving me the lower half of a cheetah. I'm not doing any of those things. But thinking about being able to keep someone from rejecting something that was different by changing the difference into being the same. I love that idea. Please continue to support doing this research. But you're absolutely right, Mickey. The thing when I see the Egyptian hieroglyphs and their mythology around that, the world's mythology around seeing that we did have human-animal hybrids in mythology, understanding what that could mean, what it could mean if we could create them or keep them alive, or if they do exist. Maybe they really do exist. Maybe it's not just myth and legend. Is it possible that aliens have already done all of this and we're just slowly catching up? Maybe we're catching up because we've seen their work. And I always put it down to this, that the music's going to start any second, but if you were deaf to Actually, it's the wrong one. Say you'd never heard something before, and the first time you hear it, you try to emulate it. That will encourage you to go down that path. We're seeing the same thing. Maybe we have had that contact. Maybe the aliens have said, you know what, if you look in this direction over here, you might just see your version of Building 7 in how to fix DNA.
Yeah.
You could fix all these problems yourselves, you pork chops.
Yep, 100%.
And there's the music, Mackie.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't hear it. Okay, cool.
Oh, well, you're not going to take us out? So do like, share, subscribe, and comment on all our videos if you can. If you see them in reels now, you should be able to see some reels come up. Do listen, watch them all the way through and share them. But Mackie, in this crazy topsy-turvy world we live in, what do we ask that our people do, our listeners?
Be safe!
That's absolutely right. You catch us 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday at Plato's Cave. Different kind of format. You'll like it if you're not part of it. You do become part of it. And we know that something awesome is going to come up with the station. So we'll catch you later. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.